This is my review for the 2013 horror sequel Curse of Chucky, again directed by Don Mancini. But would this return to the character's roots prove to be a blessing or a curse? Sorry, that was really cheesy and terrible, but it is a return to darker times. There's no Tiffany or Glenn in this film. A lot of the human characters are suffering the after effects of this bereavement. The story's quite mysterious. Chucky's delivered to this house by mail, and none of the characters there know why he's been delivered. We don't find out until almost at the end of the film. So for the time being, we just have to accept that Chucky's in this house, and seemingly he's intent on bumping off these people one by one. There's 6 of them for him to get through. It's quite a simple horror setup, but sometimes the simple ones are the best. Although for a while, I did think that maybe this film was a little bit too simple, a bit too basic, because hardly anything happens during the first act. And I thought to myself, is this going to be one of those horror sequels where the budget is so low they can hardly afford to do anything? And I thought, is the reason Chucky not speaking a lot because they could only afford Brad Dourif for an hour or something, and he's only going to speak towards the end of the film? But eventually it does get going. It is entertaining. It's more than a worthy entry in the franchise. The lead character is played by Fiona Dourif. Her character name is Nika. And yes, she is Brad's daughter, but to give her a due, she can act. She's playing this character who's permanently in a wheelchair, and at times she has to get out and crawl around to escape from Chucky. She has to crawl down some stairs at one point. It's not easy, believe me, to try and crawl whilst pretending that your legs don't work. Seriously, try it. Try crawling down your stairs doing that. And then try and imagine doing that whilst trying to say lines as if you're in a play or a film or something. It must be like trying to pat the top of your head while rubbing your stomach or something. So Fiona Dourif does very well. Her sister in the film is played by Danielle Bussetti. She plays a character called Barb, and I really enjoyed this performance, not least because she's got her husband staying with her in this house, and at the same time she's having an affair with this really gorgeous nanny. And anytime there's a subplot in a film like this, it's always welcome as far as I'm concerned. Although I will say, maybe going on Zoom with your mistress while your husband's lying next to you is maybe not the best way of keeping it concealed in the long term, and unless she's just attracted to the danger, I don't know. Later on in the film, Jennifer Tilly makes a guest appearance. I didn't think she was going to be in it, but she does come in it for one scene, and this is the part of the film where it dawned on me, or I remembered, that it's been 9 years since the previous film, because she does look a lot older. And actually, Brad Dourif, for the first time in the series, sounds older when he's doing the lines for Chucky in this film. But passing of time and all that. Andy Barclay is in the final scene of the film. It's a real sort of fan-pleasing moment, I could imagine, when this one came out. Chucky gets delivered to him in the mail, but Andy's ready for him. He gets this shotgun out and shoots him, and that's the last shot of the movie. They've used the same actor from the first 2 Child's Plays, although I think they should maybe have gone for the guy who was in Child's Play 3 if they could have got him, and then we maybe would have had a chance of recognising, because even though it's Alex Vincent as an adult returning, you can't tell that it's him unless you go and check Wiki or something. And also his acting looks really rusty. I mean, he's had a couple of credits since those first 2 Child Plays, but he just doesn't look like he's fully woken up properly in this scene. I think somebody needed to give him a Starbucks and a slap round the face and just say, come on, put some energy into it, because this film should be like a real kind of, oh, whoa moment just to finish things off, but it just falls a little flat for me. The scene before this, Chucky gets delivered to this other house to see this young girl, Alice, to try and get into her body, or have his soul transferred to her, I should say. And it's kind of a bizarre scene, this, because it seems like he is successful in, performing the incantation, but then this person flops up into view with a plastic bag on their head, and we can't quite see who it is. And then the scene changes, but he's still in the Chucky doll. So I'm thinking, did he not get into the girl's body? Or, I mean, I think it's like 6 months later that we get to the Andy Barclay scene. So did something else happen between the Alice scene and the Andy Barclay scene that turned him back to a doll? I did go on the internet and try and find the answer to this, but I can't find an answer anywhere other than somebody's theory on Reddit or something, that clearly there is a missing scene that they just decided not to film and they just left it a mystery. So it's kind of bizarre. I wouldn't say it's a negative on the film, though. I don't mind there being a couple of little mysteries left dangling, as long as they're fairly small things and they don't affect the overall product. I mean, it gives you something to talk about after the movie, doesn't it? There are a couple of genuine negatives about Curse of Chucky, though. Firstly, They've tried to connect the action in this film with the beginning of Child's Play 1, but it just doesn't work for me. We're now led to believe that when Charles Lee Ray was heading towards that toy store in the original, he was fleeing some woman's house because she called the police on him, but this doesn't mesh with how I remember that first film. He had an accomplice or something. He was fleeing from some robbery, I thought, when Chris Sarandon comes along and starts chasing him. So I think maybe they tried to be a bit over clever with that. Also, there are some death scenes in Curse of Chucky where the characters had a chance to escape and they just didn't take it for some stupid reason. It's like they're left dumbfounded by the fact they're looking at this murderous puppet. So there's this one guy, he gets the slightest of touches in the back from this wheelchair that sends him sprawling to the floor, and he's on his back and he's looking all dazed from what I don't know. And Chucky sort of comes up, gets him with the cleaver, but I'm thinking you could have escaped. You had plenty of time. This other woman, similar circumstances, falls on her arse. So now she's sat back against this cabinet or something, and Chucky walks towards her, comes out with a one-liner, stabs her in the eye. All the time she's just looking directly at him when she could have just moved off to the side, fled, run, done something. So some of these death scenes needed tightening up. The methods of kills are fairly simple: death by knife, death by cleaver, death by poison. But I think the simple kills in this film work for the simple setup and the simple premise. I did praise the more elaborate deaths in Seed of Chucky, but that film was more kind of suited for big, weird sort of kills, if you see what I mean. Another positive is the fact that Chucky goes back to being completely evil in this movie. I mean, he stabs a pregnant woman in the belly, deliberately trying to kill the kid inside. He's completely back to being psychopathic. In Bride and Seed, they took him way too far down the path of being this sort of lovable rogue. He'll kill a couple of people now and again, but he's got a heart of gold. Yeah, we're going away from that now and getting back to him just being this sicko, the strangler, whatever he was before all this started. And that's definitely a positive. You should be able to put Chucky in the same bracket as the other evil slashers like Jason and Freddy and all those. I'm not so sure about his sort of new glossy look. He's had a complete fresh coat of paint on his face. He looks brand new now, straight out of the factory. I miss the old kind of, the little stitchings that he had on by the end of Seed of Chucky, but you can't have everything, I guess. I did wonder whether I'd accidentally stumbled into the remake at the start of this film when I saw the new look. But so on the whole, it's definitely a very good film. It's a good slasher in a house, and later on we get some twists, revelations. Brad Dourif actually coming back in a flashback. It's grey and really stylishly done. It's not the scene from the beginning of the original. It's something different, but that was pleasing to see. And a really killer ending with an interesting returning character in Andy Barclay coming back with the old shotgun. So let's get to the bag of terror and find out what sort of score I've given. We've got 1, 2, 3, 3.5 bloody axes for Curse of Chucky. That still puts it behind the original trilogy, but ahead of Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky. So that's all for today. There's no pin for the horror locations board. I will be back soon for the 7th entry in this series, Cult of Chucky. Until next time, cheerio, bye-bye.